What Went Wrong? A story written by ChaoticHarmony. Her eyes are always the subject of many jokes, even in her nickname, Derpy Hooves. Ditsy Doo was always a pony who messed things up. Every pony always taunted her and teased her, and they still do today. She always takes the jokes with a small smile, but what's really behind the smile? What is it really like to be insulted every day, as if no pony thought you knew what they were talking about? Chapter 1. I Just Don't Know. She sat in the broken down town hall, light streaming down to shine on her from the holes in the ceiling. She looked around at the wreckage. There was broken timber everywhere, and the tiles were shattered in some places. Her feathers were scattered all over the floor, being tossed about as she fell and flapped frantically. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she dropped her head to stare at the floor and muttered to herself, "I just don't know what went wrong." Standing up, she wiped away the tears that had started to fall down her face, and she put on her normal vacant smile. She opened the door to the town hall and walked out, waiting for the berating yells to start. Rainbow Dash made her way up to her, pity and anger in her eyes. "Derpy, what's the matter with you? I mean, come on. Just last week we had to fix this mess, and now you did it again." Rainbow was looming over her now, shouting at her. "We don't need a silly filly like you to mess things up all the time." Rainbow stomped a hoof into the ground, crushing a small piece of wood that was in front of Ditsy's face. She cowered as Rainbow kept yelling at her. "Derpy, just go away. You always mess things up." Ditsy stood up and looked at the small crowd of ponies around her with tears in her eyes. Their eyes were all filled with anger as they glared at her. She put her head down again, letting the tears fall to the dirt as she muttered, "I just don't know what went wrong." She felt a smack across her face and looked up to see Rainbow rearing back to slap her again. Screaming in fright, Ditsy extended her wings and took off in the direction of her home. She crashed into the door, knowing it would be unlocked. She slammed it behind her with a hoof, the frame cracking with the force of it. She sank back against the door and sobbed, all of her pains pouring out of her eyes with a torrent of tears. "Every pony hates me, and I can never figure out why." Ditsy slammed a hoof to the floor and continued sobbing in her dark home. She didn't even try to light her lanterns, preferring to let her tears pour in darkness. She could still feel all the mean glares looking at her, could still hear all the angry shouts that they yelled at her. She had no pony else in the world, no pony to comfort her or tell her it would be all right. Ditsy had always been a clumsy filly with two strange eyes. One looked one direction, and the other looked a different way. It had been the source of her nickname, Derpy Hooves. At first, Ditsy had fought against it, but soon she had given up trying to rid herself of it. Now, every pony called her Derpy, thinking nothing of it. Every time some pony called her Derpy, she felt another small prick of shame in her heart, but she had learned to not let it show. When she showed her sadness, every pony just teased her more and more. After her filly years, she joined the weather team as a young mare, ready to get out in the world. She had always been one to put clouds in the wrong places, but Normally she never messed anything up too badly. Rainbow had been her friend then, never calling her derpy and always defending her against the bullies from her school. Ditsy had always been grateful for her. Without Rainbow Dash, she would have left town and never come back. Of course, as she grew older, her mistakes grew more and more severe. She had started jumping on thunderclouds, resulting in not only damage to the town, but often a trip to the hospital. She also began crashing into supports on tall buildings, causing the large beams to fall down on the ponies below. Rainbow had started to call her derpy, and she joined the ranks of the ponies that said it without realizing how much it hurt. Ditsy had cried for hours after that fateful day at the town hall. Of course, after she left the weather team, she had met Dinky Hooves. Derpy had been flying home after she left the post office, and her new job as mail mare, and she had heard the crying coming from the alleyway. She had taken her back to her home and cared for Dinky as if she were her own. Tears sprung up again as she remembered Dinky's final words to her. Dinky's last words to her were filled with hate, not love. Dinky's anger-filled voice rang out in the dark room. Only in Ditsy's mind, but still just as real as they were all those years ago.
Mom, I don't want to stay anymore. Every pony makes fun of me because I'm with you. You're just derpy.
After that, her muffin exited Ditsy's life forever, never visiting her again. Ditsy had lost every pony that mattered to her. Not even Pinkie Pie would throw her parties anymore, or even give her discounts on her favorite muffins. Now, she ate the grass that grew in her house's cracked floorboards. It was like her life now, tasteless and without color. She shook with despair as she finally realized what Rainbow Dash and all the other ponies wanted. They wanted her to leave Ponyville. She cried and cried in her dark room, moving to pack up her only possessions. In her saddlebags, she placed a picture of Dinky in a small muffin-shaped locket with a picture of her beloved Dr. Hooves. She turned to her writing table and picked up a small pencil. Writing down what she wanted, she folded the tear-stained letter and set her last muffin on top of it. She turned away from the letter and all it contained. With a sad sigh, she walked to her front door, still hanging ajar from the force of her kick. Walking out of her house, she was greeted by a downpour of rain. It soaked through her mane and made her shiver with the cold. She walked through Ponyville, taking in all the dark and closed buildings around her. Standing on the path that led away from Ponyville and into the Everfree, she looked back at her old life with a small smile on her face and tears mixing with the rain on her face.
I just don't know what went wrong.
Her small gray figure disappeared into the dark and cold forest. Chapter 2. Epilogue. I know now.
Dear any pony who reads this, I'm sorry that I always mess things up. I just don't know how I do it. But since you all want me gone, I'll leave into the Everfree, where I won't be seen again. Don't come looking for me. I don't want you to. I know that you all hate me, and I'm okay with that. I know what to do now, and I know what went wrong. I went wrong. Thank you for putting up with me so long, every pony. But now, I won't mess up anything else where I'm going. Goodbye, every pony.
Rainbow Dash read the letter with tears in her eyes, which dripped every so often to join the tears already soaked into the paper. She hugged the letter close to her as she whispered, "Oh, Derpy." Unable to say anything more, she sobbed aloud, not caring who saw her. Slamming her hoof into the table again and again, she cried for the kind mare that she had sent over the edge. She, Rainbow, had been the one to finally send her away. With an anguished cry, Rainbow shot out of the door to search for the poor mare she had sent away, but she would never find her again. On the deck sat a moth, glistening with tears of Rainbow Dash that shone the setting sun. The end.
I know I'm not like them, but is it really wrong? Oh please, some pony, tell me, how can I belong when my eyes are bright? The rest of me's alright. So why don't they see it? I've got so much inside. Just because I'm strange doesn't make me dumb.